Hi guys, so I'm out again. I managed to escape. I've been meaning to do this for a while actually, but not really got much of a chance. So this is my four-nighter that I normally do in the autumn time. So that shows you how long it's been since I've had a chance, because it's now January. So 3, maybe 4 nights in the wood at my shelter. Plan is to build a crawl-in debris shelter and try and sleep in that one night without any fire or anything. It's ridiculously warm. It should be like sub-zeros in January in Scotland. It's actually 10 degrees today, so it's really warm. So it won't be quite the challenge, certainly from a temperature point of view, that I thought it would be. But we are getting some pretty nasty weather as well. Had a lot of rain over the last couple of days. It's been really wet, and it's due to get quite windy as well. Although my spot is really well sheltered, so I should be okay. So got 4 days worth of gear in here. It weighs a ton, and I'm struggling. So I'll update you in a minute. Okay, so here we are, back at the ranch. Looks quite nice. Thankfully the rain sort of stayed off a bit. I've noticed I might have to do a little bit of work on the shelter though, because it seems to have a bit of a gap at the top there, so it's kind of letting through a wee bit. So I'm going to have to use up some leaves doing that. Leaves which are kind of scarce really, although it seems like there's lots of them. To make a proper crawl-in debris shelter you need absolutely stacks of things. I don't really got enough here, not judging by some of the videos I've watched. There's a guy called Mike Douglas, his main primitive skills school. He's got some really good videos on YouTube that show you exactly how to go about making a proper survival, crawl-in survival shelter, or debris hut as he calls it. But he uses like so much leaves you wouldn't believe. I'm going to be struggling in that department, but I'll see what happens. Even if I just practice building one, I'll try sleeping in it and just see what happens. So that's the plan. Unfortunately it's January, so daylight hours are very few and far between, and I meant to get up here a lot earlier today, but it's actually near enough 12 o'clock I think now, so I'm going to have to get cracking. But I'm going to try and get some wood gathered as well first before I start doing any proper work, because at the moment it is sort of raining but not hard. I don't want to end up having to scrabble around finding wood in the pouring rain if it does decide to chuck it down, which it probably will. Anyway, so that's the plan, better get going. Hi guys, so the rain stopped, so I thought I'd better give you guys an update. I've got some firewood collected, and I've actually had a wee experiment there, just collecting some leaves with the tarp, just throwing tons of leaves on the tarp and basically just dragging it back to the camp. So it worked out quite well. I also find there's a lot of these wee fir twigs in amongst it, which will actually be quite helpful, because that'll bulk up the leaves and help them sort of stay quite thick. And sort of probably trap some air as well, which will insulate everything nicely. So the next thing I want to try and do is, this is where I'm going to put the debris shelter. So well, probably going to set it up over here. So my peak's going to be here, and obviously I'm head at this end. So first thing I want to do though, rather than build up a bed just with leaves, because there isn't really enough to do that I don't think. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to build a raised sort of timber bed with a nice sort of air cavity underneath it, and probably just sort of bed that out with some fir branches, maybe some leaves as well, see how we get on. But the first task really is to work out where I'm going to go, how wide the bed needs to be. So let's mark this out actually a bit rather than leaving that log there. The idea is obviously the debris shelter's got to be as small as possible. So you're only going to have just as much as a hand's width either side, just enough to sort of move over or actually get into it. So it's going to be around about here. So I would say that I should get some pegs. Like what I'll do is I'll get some pegs made up and I'll actually peg this out properly so that I have like an exact position of where I want to put the bed. Then I'll build the bed up, and then obviously the next step after that is to actually build an A-frame up on top of that. But we'll get the bed going first, so I'm going to head out now and just try and collect some bits of wood and stuff to build that, and then I'll switch back on and let you see what I've done. Hi guys, so I've made a start to my raised bed. Just got a dead standing birch that was across there. It's just quite a nice size, so I just put 3 cross members across and 2 stringers right along. So what I need to do now is actually go and collect all of the nice straight bits to put across here to act as the slats, and then put some leaves and some fir branches on top of that. So I've pegged out, this is where the actual frame, where the actual A-frame, the debris shelter is going to be as well. So I think it's probably about the right size. It might be slightly too big, but we'll see how we get on. So I'm going to go and collect some nice saplings now to put the stringers in place, the slats across, and then that should be quite a nice height, I think. So we'll get cracking with that now. Hi guys, well I'm kind of running out of light now, and I've run out of puff as well. I'm kind of knackered, to be honest. Not really done that much, but just moving stuff around and bending down and carrying stuff back and forward and collecting logs and all the rest of it. And you're not used to it. But I've managed to collect a whole load of alder saplings from around the corner, which I'll process up to make the slats for the bed. Probably this evening. Just work through in the dark, and then hopefully by tomorrow I'll be ready to start building the actual framework for the debris shelter. So I'm not going to do that just now. I'm going to get a fire going and get some food in me before I even do anything else. So I'll probably just catch up with you in the morning. Lovely weather, beautiful. I'm going to have fun trying to light a fire in this, I can tell you that much. Oh well, I suppose I better get up. Looks nice now, the sun's come out, but I've just spent the whole morning in the pouring rain. It poured all night, last night it poured rain all night as well. Managed to stay dry though. But I just spent the whole morning rigging a tarp that I was going to actually use to light a fire under, so I could cook my breakfast. I've not actually had any breakfast yet, and I just wasted the whole morning doing that, although it will come in handy obviously the next time it rains. It's stopped now. The forecast is for it to stay stopped for a couple of hours, so I'm going to try and get some breakfast, and then I can get back to building the debris shelter. So this is the first use of my new cup lid that I made the other day, and I must say I'm quite happy with it. It's loose enough that I can just stick a twig under there and have a wee peek inside. And just check if things are boiling, which they are, so that's my cup of tea ready. But yeah, definitely worthwhile making that thing. Cool. Okay guys, so finally getting into position to start processing these slats. I didn't manage to do anything last night. By the time I got my dinner all sorted, and then the rain started pouring down, and basically I just crashed out. So and again, of course, this morning's just been wasted because of the torrential rain as well, but it's not bad now. I just had my breakfast. It's like 2 o'clock and I've just had my breakfast. Yeah, but what I'm going to do is basically start processing these things. First of all, I'm going to take all the loose branches off. And to do that, I'm going to make use of the condor gollock that I got a while back. I've not really actually had a chance to test it fully yet, but I'm using it quite a bit. I used it to cut these guys yesterday, and it's pretty good. I did take it out one time before, and I hadn't really sharpened it, and it wasn't that great. But I've given it quite a good sharpen. I followed Ben from North Arm Machetes in Australia. He has a really good technique for sharpening these convex blades, so it's pretty good. It's pretty sharp. It's not shaved sharp or anything like that, but it's not bad. Pretty good technique anyway. So just going to start reducing these guys. Just take some of all these smaller branches off. See, parang's actually a brilliant tool for doing that sort of thing. If you're messing around trying to use that with a knife or an axe or a saw or anything, take ages, but just ripping those small branches off anything, these things are great. It's got a real nice feel to it. It's a really nice chunky blade. It's well thick. I'm not going to break it like I did the fox knives that I tested before this. So yeah, quite happy with that. I might put a slightly better edge on it before the next time, just to see what it's like with a sharp edge on it, see how well it actually holds on to a sharp edge. But yeah, so I'm just going to keep doing that, and then I'm going to basically just cut all these guys to length, and then hopefully we have some time left over to start putting together the framework for the actual debris shelter. So I better get cracking. Yeah, it's a bit tight, I think, just slightly. Especially once I get some bedding on it, it's going to be really a bit tight. I might have to show you what I've done. So I've got the slats in place, but obviously once I get some branches and then some leaves as well on top of that, that's going to raise it up even further. So I think it's pretty good at the front. I've got a couple of really pretty sturdy branches in place and managed to get a nice interconnection at the top there, so this is actually completely solid as in, apart from moving back and forward on the support there. And then yeah, I reckon I can just squeeze through there, crawling backwards, and have enough room to manoeuvre myself onto the bed and get in position. So I just need to raise it up. I'm going to probably make a wee tripod for it at the back for it to sit on. That should be right. So I'm just about out of light actually, so I'll get a wee bit more done. Maybe get this support at the back finished off, and then have some dinner and have an early night I think, and hopefully I can get the skeleton, the sides on, and get tons of leaves on top of it and try it out tomorrow night. So keep going anyway until the lights disappeared. I'll probably see you in the morning. Right height, I think. Just a slightly bit of clearance for the boots on. And we've got enough clearance here to actually turn over just if I need to. I'll go on my side, I'll actually to my side. Just got enough room to do all that, so I think that's pretty good. So I made a support for that end, which is pretty good. Again, I've interlocked the branches so it's absolutely solid. One thing I did notice there was I've got a few, I need to put, at least have the underside of that ridge pole, I need to like smooth it all off. The last thing I want to do is be dragging myself on it. The same applies to the sides as well when I get around to doing that, which is actually the next step. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to start collecting up some bits. I've got still some leftovers from the alder that I harvested, and I just need to ravage around and find some decent bits. There's a couple of bits here, but there's tons of stuff. I don't need to go cutting anything. There's stuff lying on the ground that I can use. So as usual, I better get cracking. Right, so I've completed one wall on one side, and what I've done is I've pretty much got a slat in between each piece of wood going up to make the wall. I don't know if you can see it better from this angle, so as you can see I've got a slat in between each upright as well, all the way along there, which makes it actually really quite solid, and so I'm going to try and do the same on this side. But the first thing I need to do is actually, the reason I've only done one wall is because I need to actually stick all the bedding inside, so I'm just going to fill that up with leaves and stuff just now, and once I've done that I'm going to get the other wall on. It's come over really dark, so I don't know if we're in for a bit of, it started raining actually, so hopefully it doesn't get too heavy and I can keep working. Okay, so I'll update you soon. Well guys, bad news I'm afraid. Seems there's a big storm coming in. Winds are forecasting up to 60 miles an hour, and I don't think a wise person would hang around in a wood when that's likely to happen. I wasn't too worried because the wind direction would probably kept me quite sheltered. It was southwest, so which where my shelter is fine. But then the forecast is for that to swing round at the west, which would leave me totally exposed to I don't know what. And where I was camping there's a few big trees that the wind in that direction, if it's strong enough, they could go over and it wouldn't be very pretty. So discretion, as they say, is the better part of valour. So it's 9 o'clock, in fact it's probably 9:30 by now. It'll take me ages to pack up in the dark. So hopefully my wife's waiting for me down here in the car park and I can get home. But it's annoying because I mean obviously my shelter's half built there. I was all set to finish it off tomorrow and sleep in it tomorrow night, but that's not going to happen now. I might try and come back out in the morning and see what's happening anyway, maybe even if I can do a bit of work on it, I don't know. But it's forecast is for it to stay windy for a while, so I don't know if there's any point really. Stuff should be okay though, so we'll get back to it. Maybe next weekend I can get out. I'll try and see if I can wangle some time off work. Right, okay. So that's a lovely wee path now. Ronnie's sorted it out, put tons of nice windstone, the really boggy bits. There's some guy. Alright, see you later.